Welcome back to another episode, Is It Worth the Grind series. So, today we're going to be doing the Italian ships, Are They Worth Grinding, the updated edition. Well, there's been a few changes and a few ship additions. So, as you can see here, we have the new Italian submarines to talk about, as well as the Affondatore. So, we'll be focusing on those, as well as the Regilo, the Venezia, the Colombo line, because the Colombo line did get a few changes as well. So we'll be going over all that. But first, let's start off with the destroyers. So the destroyers, we have the Regilo line, which is in the tech tree, of course, as you can see here, starting from the tier 2, going all the way down to the tier 10. Now, in the past, the Regula was really looked down upon. It was kind of the clown of the Italian tech trees. Nobody really liked it. But over time, the meta has shifted to where the Regula line has now become a very underrated tech tree line. Having good torpedoes, as well as really strong guns with that exhaust smoke, really makes Regula a very strong tech tree line going up and down. Now, when on this line do you think the line starts getting really good SAT? And which do you think is some outliers that really suffer? I know the Reggio is really good, the Atratico is okay, but what about the tier 8 and below?
I would argue Alvieri at tier 6 is pretty solid. She does pretty good work in ranked. The mid-tier Italian destroyers can gank other destroyers and like blow them up with sap and then make smoke for a quick getaway.
Hmm.
Tagero, I think it's okay. It's more underrated, but still suffers from being a tier 7 destroyer. Kuniberti is a pretty solid ship. She can bully other lower tier destroyers pretty easily, and up tier, she can of course just use smoke and run away. Pretty solid firepower for her tier. I do agree the Adriatico is not really a great ship, but it's just mediocre, not awful as a ship. And Regolo, of course, is pretty solid. Pretty
Hmm.
solid tier 10 destroyer.
Yep. So here is the build we recommend for the Regulo line. So as you're going down, we recommend the main armament, engine boost, aiming systems, propulsion, concealment, and reload. For the commander skills, here's how you'll start it. You'll do this will be going down the whole line. So preventive maintenance first, then last stand. Your 6-point skill is then going to be survivability expert. Your 10-point is going to be concealment. 14-point is going to be the AFT or main battery and anti-air expert. After that, it's going to be 17-point is then going to be the adrenaline rush. After that, it's going to be 19-point, which would be the consumable enhancement. Then you're going to do the consumable specialist for 20 points, and the final skill is going to be grease the gears. So that's going to be the Italian destroyer line. Now let's move on to the cruiser line, the Venezia. So the Venezia has definitely seen better days. I feel kind of bad for the Venezia nowadays. There just seems like the line itself is good, but it's kind of like people know what the Venezia line gimmick is of trying to slap destroyers. So they kind of know how to counter it over time. But what do you think are some strong ships of the Venezia line? I know the Piemmont's good, the Venezia itself is good. Brinzi and Amalfi are definitely good, and I think the Zara's okay as well. But what are your thoughts?
I personally like the line starting from the Amalfi. It's when you finally get enough firepower to really reliably slap destroyers, and
Hmm.
you don't have like a ultra squishy hull like some of the mid-tier cruisers.
But yeah, so in this line in
Yeah.
particular, you also get a exhaust smoke, the fighter or spotter, a heal, as well as submarine surveillance. So one of the few lines in the game to also get a submarine surveillance, which is also nice. You also get good torpedoes, good sap shells, and AP shells, which is really nice. But yeah, so also for the super ship, the Piemont doesn't have any F keys in particular, but you can think of it as essentially just a super Venezia. Very strong, having bigger guns, pretty much the exact same gimmick, just a super ship version. So overall, a very good. Now, let's look over the build we have recommended for the Venezia line. So for that CL line, we have the spotting aircraft in Module 1. Module 2 is going to be damage control systems. Module 3 is going to be aiming systems. Module 4 is propulsion. Module 5 is concealment. And Module 6 is reload. For the planes itself, we definitely recommend spotting aircraft to help spot while you're in smoke, as well as help giving you extra range to be able to shoot longer distance. Now, for the build itself, here's the line recommendation we recommend for the Venezia. We're going to have for first, it's going to be the consumable specialist. After that, it's going to be consumable enhancement. For your 6-point, it's then going to be your superintendent. After that, your concealment is going to be 10 points. Then you're going to do top rate gunner for your 14-point commander. For your 17 point, it's going to be Adrenaline Rush. And then for your 20 point, it's going to be Survivability Expert. And finally, for your 21 point, it's going to be Gun Feeder. So that's what we recommend for the Venezia line. Now, moving on from the Venezia line, let's talk about the Battleship line, the Colombo line, and the newly introduced, the Affondatore. So essentially, yeah, this thing is a super Colombo. This thing is massive. And we'll talk about this thing in a moment, but let's talk about the Colombo line. So in the past, we talked about the Colombo line and how it's the tier 10 is essentially the god tier 1 and how the lower tiers really suffered. Well, they've nerfed and buffed the Colombo line at the same time, and let us explain how. So they've nerfed the sap on the Colombo damage a little bit, and they also changed how the dispersion works. And they also nerfed the Sigma on the Colombo as well. So for the entire Italian line, it now gets Soviet dispersion, which means the closer it is, the more accurate it is. So in the past, the Lepanto and the Veneto be very inaccurate. Now within 11 kilometers, they're way more accurate. And that also is the same thing for Colombo and the Affondatore. So, but they're really big guns with the SAP and AP. They're really hard hitting. So Lepanto is way more of an underdog nowadays, where like underrated, I mean. It's really scary to fight a Lepanto within 11 kilometers because all the 12 SAP guns and how accurate it is just slaps anything within 11 kilometers. It's super, super terrifying. The Veneto is okay. It's better than it was, but below that is still eh. But the Colombo is still very strong. But what are your thoughts, SAT?
They just shifted the Colombo line's strengths, so now they perform much better at close range. Like the accuracy, they get the Kremlin dispersion, but long range, they're not hurt that much because SAP is very consistent as a shell type. So even if less shells are hitting, you're still doing some pretty heavy salvos to cruisers, and that's just on the unlucky salvos. You still have really good shell arcs to reliably lead even the faster targets. Close range though, like the increased accuracy is amazing. I've deleted a couple of broadside ships at close range. It's like you see 16 shells just combine into one super shell. It is amazing. So yeah, it is. You can argue that it's not as overpowered as before, but it's still arguably the best battleship around. You just need to play it at closer ranges. That's it. Like, you will still have a lot of fun playing this version of Colombo.
Yep, and the thing that makes Visual so strong as well is because the rear turrets are also 360, so you're able to sit bow win at a distance and shoot your guns off the left and right side really well, and that makes it really strong as well. Now, let's move on and talk about the Affondatore after we showcase the build. So the build that we go for the entire line is going to be main armor in the first slot, damage control in the second, third is aiming systems, fourth is propulsion, fifth is concealment, and sixth is reload. Now, we do recommend you get the unique upgrade, but we know a lot of people don't have access to the research bureau, so we say doing reload first, and then you do the improved rangefinders after that. Now, for the build itself, for the Colombo line, here's what we recommend. First slot's going to be gun feeder. After that, you can do grease the gears or AA defense and ASW expert. It comes down to a personal preference between if you want faster traverse speed on your turrets, or if your anti-air is activated at all by anything like fighters, spotter planes, any kind of aircraft at all, it reduces your cooldown by 40% while the anti-air is active. So it comes down to your preference there. So moving on from that one, it's then going to be adrenaline rush. Then for your 6 point, 10 point is going to be fire prevention. After that, it's going to be, would you say concealment for your 14 point or the emergency repair expert?
For newer players, I would take concealment as the 14th and then emergency repair expert as the 18th skill.
Okay, and then for the 21 point, then it's going to be the improved repair readiness is going to be the build for the Colombo line. All right, so let's talk about the Affondatore for the final battleship in for the Colombo line. So the Affondatore is essentially a super Colombo. It's got bigger guns, bigger hull, way more HP, 115,000, 31% per torpedo protection. So it has the same torpedo protection as a Colombo, but this thing has almost 20,000, over 20,000 more HP in it. It's essentially a monster of a ship. 420 millimeter Citadel protection. It has a deck armor of 50. It does have a turtleback as well to help make sure it does not get citadeled. But yeah, this thing is an absolute monster. It does share the same gimmick of the Columbo of having the rear 360 turrets as well. Now, people are going to say, is this better than the main? If you're talking about this straight up, because this thing also gets an F key as well, where it gets a faster speed as well as faster preparation time for its consumables. It gets a heal as well as an exhaust smoke. And people are going to say, is this better than a main? If you're just fighting one-on-one, then this is going to be a main outright. Essentially, this thing being a super Columbo, it's going to be just as strong as the Columbo is, but super. So this thing is going to be a true menace on the seas whenever you see them running around. And it's also very tanky as well, so watch out for that as well. But yes, it's definitely stronger than the main. All right, so moving on, let's talk about the final tech tree line for the Italians. It is the Submarine Line, and here's the tier 10. As you can see here, it starts at tier 6 and it goes down to the tier 8 and the tier 10. Now, do you know anything about these submarine lines as in how good or bad they are? I know that the tier 10 is good, the tier 8 is okay, but the tier 6 I've heard is very mediocre. But do you have any thoughts on those?
I have not played the line at all.
Okay, so I've heard the tier 6 isn't as good, but I know that the tier 10 is very strong, and I'll explain why. So for the tier 10, you do get 2 SAP guns. For consumables, you get a submarine surveillance, 9 kilometers. You have a reload booster for the guns. You have an exhaust smoke and a heal. You also have an automatic torpedo reload and power plant forcing combat instruction, where you get 15% faster speed and 20% faster reload time on your torpedoes when you hit 5 shells with your main guns. So you can see that's really easy to do. And these torpedoes also have a nice reload as well when you build into them. And the acoustics, the homing go out to 10 kilometers, which is really nice as well. So overall, the ship is very strong at being like an anti-destroyer, anti-submarine, and the torpedoes do a lot of hounding as well. So I think overall the tech tree line is really good as well to recommend it. So let's go over the builder recommend. So first thought's going to be the damage control party modification. Second is going to be damage control systems. Third is submarine surveillance. Fourth is going to be submarine steering gears. Fifth is going to be in the reinforced bulkhead. And sixth is going to be torpedo tubes modification. For the actual commander skill itself, you're going to start off with priority target first, then you're going to do preventative maintenance. After that, I would say watchful is going to be very important next, due to the fact that it's one of the most useful perks in the game. The fact that it tells you if you surface or dive that you're going to get spotted by something, as in like a radar or something, anything, is one of the most useful tools in the game. So definitely do watchful first. Then you can do the adrenaline rush for your 10 point. 14 point is going to be enlarged propeller shaft. Super tent is going to be your 17 point. 20 point is then going to be consumable specialist. And then finally, the final one is going to be liquidator. And that's the build to recommend. But overall, we'd recommend, essentially, which one do you recommend? Columbo, we definitely recommend. Regular, we definitely recommend. And the submarine line, if you enjoy playing submarines, then yes, we definitely recommend that one for being a very strong anti-submarine and destroyer. But what about the Venezia? Would you recommend the Venezia nowadays SAT compared to before?
Harder to recommend, but still a solid option if you're if you're a cruiser main.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Stacey, for your time. I do greatly appreciate it. If you guys have any questions or concerns on this updated version of the Is It Worth the Grind series for the Italian ships, let us know in the comments. And when you see you guys in the next one. Deuces.